We appreciate you taking the time this morning to join this webinar. We know the weather's not great, it's midweek, so we appreciate the time from you guys. This morning, what we're going to try and do is we're going to walk through some of the real world challenges that kind of organizations face with field operations, and then try and show you how Salesforce and Field Service can kind of help address them. We'll try and make this not death by PowerPoint if completely possible. There'll be a little bit from myself and then a little bit of some of my colleagues. And really, just on that, a great big thank you again, just obviously for everybody for turning up this morning. We know taking time out of your day it can be often tricky. Obviously, there's three of us today. There's myself, I'm Sean Collins, I'm the Commercial Director for Tether. We're a Salesforce implementation partner. We've been in the ecosystem now for around 10 years, and I've had the privilege of being here for about 7 years myself. You'll be hearing today as well from Paddy Lennon, who is one of our senior accounts managers. Paddy's got a breadth and depth of experience within field service, and we're talking to clients. And we've got Cassie as well, Cassie is one of our lead solutions engineers, and she'll be running you through the demo. She gets to do the fun part, whereas Paddy and I get to do death by PowerPoint. But I'll let you guys just do a quick introduction before we carry on. Paddy?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks for your time and joining us today. I'm really pleased to have you. So should be an engaging session. We'll run through some of the advantages of field service. We have some elements of the new AI functionality that Salesforce has rolled out towards the end of the session as well. So thanks again for your time and sticking with us. Cassie.
Thanks, Betty. Thanks, Sean. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassandra Cassie Buckley, and I'm a lead solution engineer with Tether. We are an implementation partner working primarily just for Salesforce. And what I'll be doing today is, like Sean said, I'll be doing the fun part, which will show you exactly what field service can do for many different kinds of businesses, whether it is primarily for your service team or offsite team, but also there might be a hint of sales in there for pre-sales as well, if need be. So very flexible tool, and very excited to show you guys what it can do for you today.
Cheers, guys. Just a quick note for everybody. The webinar is being recorded, so it will be available on our website afterwards. So if you guys want to share it with colleagues or you want to revisit anything later, you have that option. And again, we're always available to have a quick chat. So the death by PowerPoint part of it. What we're going to try and do quite quickly today is, from an agenda point of view, is give you an introduction to field service and potentially some of the real world challenges it gets. We call it market challenges. You know, lots of your contact with customers and improve that kind of process and life cycle from the point that an inquiry comes in all the way through to somebody actually going out on site. And then Paddy's going to talk a little bit about sort of like the new era of AI in field service. I'll leave that one to him. He's much better at it than I am, to run through kind of some of the new features. Some we'll be able to show in obviously within the demo org. Some actually, I think we've got some small clips and videos that we've done. We're quite restrained, unfortunately, with demonstration orgs and what we can and can't build. So we'll highlight some of the new features as well as we go along. And then obviously we've got some Q&A that we've had from some people who've sent in. Some people can't attend today, so I'm going to kind of address those kind of questions that have popped up, and we'll run through those at the end. And if anybody else has got anything, please stick something in the chat and we'll happily talk about it. So, introduction to field service. Okay, without reading the screen, you know, what is field service there for? So it can improve your first time fix rates. It has intelligent scheduling and technician enablement. And what that basically means is, how can I schedule the jobs in quicker? How can I get more efficiencies out of things? And that leads into reducing operational costs, obviously, to optimize route planning for your engineers, you know, whether they're using Google Maps, whether they're using iOS maps, it will help them to actually optimize their day. So we speak to a lot of customers where a lot of our engineers finish at 4 o'clock and they really want to get home. You know, they could be on the school run. How do they optimize their day so their work-life balance is actually working and you're getting the best out of them at the same time? We'll talk a little bit about delivering proactive services, and what that means is, you know, Internet of Things, predictive maintenance. If you've got machinery that you have on site, which is actually monitoring the health and status. How can that link up with Salesforce? So you can have assets that are then getting flags against them to say, this machine might need a service. One of the use cases we come across quite a lot is people who have proactive monitoring on the machines that they install and they maintain. How does that actually work, and how does that feed back in? So we'll talk a little bit about. And then really, how is this all built in with CRM? And it's about strengthening customer relationships more than anything. So we'll dig a little bit deeper into that as well. Before we kind of jump into the demo, though, I want to take a few minutes to kind of set the stage and talk about why organizations invest in field service management, the challenges they kind of face, and how field service can make a real difference. Field service at the heart of things is about connection. It's about joining up three critical groups, kind of the office, the scheduling, the office and the scheduling teams, I should say, is one. They're the guys who organize the work. Then you've got the engineers and the contractors who are out on the road. These actually deliver the service that you guys are providing. And then you've got the customers. And the customers are always waiting for, and expecting a reliable professional service. How do you interact with them? How do you keep them up to date so that they feel like, they're getting great service from you? When those three aren't connected, things often start to break down. Delays can creep in, and I think information often gets lost, and that's what we hear quite a lot. And that actually puts a rise in the cost. So customers lose confidence in you, you get increased costs, and you're actually not streamlining and being really, really efficient. When I think about kind of some of the common pain points we hear from organizations, it's scheduling chaos. So this is one of those biggest headaches, teams trying to manage diaries in spreadsheets or in systems that just don't talk to each other. Jobs get double booked, engineers turn up at the wrong time, or work has to be cancelled or rescheduled. It's difficult to see sometimes at a glance who's available, who has the right skills, or even who's closest to the next job. The next challenge, I suppose, is kind of poor updates and communication. A job might be logged on the system, but by the time the engineer sees it, they don't have the right details or even the right equipment with them. Customers kind of feel that frustration as well. They might be told someone else will be arriving in the afternoon, and you've wasted hours at home, waiting for somebody to come out. Or if you've got a time slot, for example, you're waiting for a customer, it's not efficient enough. So inconsistent updates don't just waste time, they damage trust. Behind the scenes of that, this often means unnecessary miles that have been driven, repeat visits, the right part wasn't available, engineers can sit waiting, idle for approvals, and it's not really a great service. So finally, there's the challenge as well of contractors, and we'll talk about that a little bit. For organizations that really rely heavily on contractors, visibility can be even harder. So who's actually available, who has the right qualifications, how do you keep track of performance and ensure, quality standards? How do you make sure all these things are met? These are kind of real day-to-day challenges that we speak to customers about all of the time. And they're exactly the kind of pain points that field service is kind of designed to solve. It's reducing the chaos, streamlining that communication, and giving teams and customers really a better experience. Again, just highlighting these real world challenges that I just talked about there. The reason why I want to look at this screen as well is spreadsheets, double bookings. I didn't mention them a minute ago, but actually this is one of the big pain points that we always see. Whiteboards, spreadsheets. We speak to a customer. I spoke to a customer last week, and they showed me the Excel spreadsheet, and they called it the checkers board. And the checkers board is basically things being moved around all the time. Where they're looking at field service, for example, would be a real benefit, because actually they could move off that Excel sheet and they wouldn't have to have engineers in one column, jobs in another, and the chaos that then comes through. And what they've found as well is double bookings. So double bookings happens quite a lot, because they just don't have the visibility, and people are all looking at the same sheet, and maybe it's not the most up-to-date version, maybe the sharing isn't quite right, and this is where field service, I think, will really help that. The updates kind of comes down to the customers that we talked about before. So missed jobs, wasted time, frustrated customers. I speak to quite a lot of customers where one of their biggest pain points is the communication with their own customers. So when a job gets scheduled, how do they get updated straight away to say, Sean will be with you later on today at 2:00 this afternoon, or actually Sean's not going to be with you because we have an emergency and we'll send somebody else out. This is where the system can automate that and help you at the same time. And then obviously we talked about the contractor as well. How do we make sure that we get those visibility from them, from a quality and a skills and availability perspective, because actually you don't have visibility on this kind of thing. Assigning the right person at the right time, no guesswork. One of the great kind of concepts that sits behind field service within Salesforce is the ability to assign skills, to assign territories, to assign times to all of your engineers. So that means, for example, let's say that you have maintenance to do in a school, you wouldn't send anybody that wouldn't have a a DBS check or a Garda check, for example, and the system will be able to tell you when those kind of things are up, or if they've got the right skills to manage a job. Maybe an engineer goes out to fix a boiler, maybe an engineer goes out to fix an air conditioning unit, and actually they need a certain skill to do that. The system's going to then tell you, well, actually, we can't send Sean for that one. We have to send Paddy for that one because Paddy's got a great skill set and it's an emergency call out. And how does that look? And I think Cassie's going to touch on that a little bit later when it comes to call outs and emergencies. And then how do the engineers as well get that instant job notification, mobile updates and digital signatures? So there's lots there to talk about. And what we'll do is we'll talk about how field service helps here. So when it comes in, instead of manually allocating and guesswork, it's using AI-powered scheduling to look at the skills, location, availability, travel times, and automatically assigning the right person to the right job. I'm trying to make this not death by PowerPoint today, so I am going to keep this a little bit brief. From an interconnectivity point of view, can't speak today. How does that tie in with CRM? So field service actually works hand in hand with your CRM in Salesforce. It's actually built on the same data layer, and it's that same trust layer that we have across all of the products. So we have sales and service. So how do your sales team see all of the jobs? Because as an account manager, I might need to be in contact with a customer to let them know that there are people coming. How do I see those? And from a service point of view, how do they see what's been sold previously? So because they all live on the same data layer, it's one customer journey. The cases in Service Cloud as well will be able to work hand in hand with the opportunities in Sales Cloud. So when a job comes in, what was it sold against? What were the asset that you need to see against? And how can we have that trigger things automatically within the system for updates and notifications? And then the dashboards, I think that Cassie's going to cover for those fixed rates and completion times, utilizations and costs, I think is really, really key.